Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube fam? It's the same leg here representing Team JVS. I haven't done a couch review in a very long time. I apologize. I'm doing it like this, but I wanted to give you guys my quick updated perspective on the second episode to The Nevers. This is a Joss Whedon directed, written, and produced show. I did like the first episode. The underlying thing I thought was the most intriguing is how the Touch got their powers, where their powers actually came from, the character dynamics, the empowerment side of why these women were working together under the same roof, under this orphanage, when everything on the outside, not only they're being oppressed as women from what they're capable of, it's not blatant, but now it's like they are direct targets, much like X-Men before them or anything from a historical standpoint. The only thing that I did not like about the first episode, and this still lays into this episode, is I think it's an unnecessary amount of uh extra. What I mean by that is whether it is sexual content, whether it is lewd, vulgar cursing. It just kind of is unnecessary. I think that it's kind of like it's edgy for the sake of being edgy, and I get it's an HBO show, but I feel like this could easily be a sci-fi show, and it would still do the same thing. There's different verbiage that they can use to execute the same exact way, and the actors are doing their job. The actors are staying true to their characters, whether it is Amelia. Like Amelia in this episode, she's she's kind of like sticking to herself because she got into the fight last time with Malady, and it did not go well, and it's kind of like she's trying to lay low, and I think Penance was like enticed by what is her name, Bridlow, Lavania. Bridlow basically told her, well, I need you to go and meet up with our people that we're trying to get on you guys' side, and we need to see this a civil expression of conversation. And so Penance had to go and be on the outside where Amelia was like, all right, I'm gonna stay in my lane. Then lo and behold, somebody comes to their place having this interesting power, and she ends up reconnecting and establishing with Frank where Frank lies with this, where he really feels, why he's so, enticed with this case because of his connection with Mary. Now, the other thing that I did like about this episode is those different conversations, whether it was uncovering different levels of the truth. Like, this person has a power that they say anything around, once they get flustered in one way, shape, or form, they just spew out everything. And Frank did that and basically told Amelia everything she needed to know. So Mrs. True had the upper hand on him, but then they started to work together, which I appreciate because I don't want to wait a whole season for them to work together. It's evident like he's trying to get to the truth. He also loves this girl, and he just wants to get her back, as well as he wants to be able to try to do the right thing. Whether or not his, it's just he's being pulled around, but at the same time, it's interesting to see them working together. But we knew it was an inevitable situation because of Amelia's abilities, and that she's going to eventually have an altercation again with Malady. And Malady, while all this is going on, is basically spewing her heart to Mary and why she's having issues. It's kind of like where Frank and Amelia are uncovering why Malady would want Mary, and because of the abuse that she's dealt with, because of the things that she's been subjected to, that the levels of hope and life is pain for Malady based on her circumstance. And so then it's like for her, she's just basically trying to break down Mary, and it was kind of like it was all for a reason. Like, for all intents and purposes, Malady is almost indestructible. Like, she is a beast. But the actress portraying her is doing an amazing job because she sounds insane. And she is acting it very well. I actually appreciate her character because she's out there. But some cases she's not. And you don't know you have to really pay attention to her verbiage, but then you don't want to get too immersed into it because it just seems way too out there. It's that kind of sick that you don't really want to be around. And it was almost projecting onto Mary. And I was kind of just like, I was worried for this girl's life. She had said something crazy like, you know, when somebody gets hanged, they crap or something to that nature. That's not the exact verbiage. Again, the verbiage, like the language for no good reason. But anyway, it all goes down to a head in the last part. So this is a non-spoiler review. I'm not going to go in there. But let's just say there is an altercation between Mallory, Malady and Amelia again. And we get something that I thought from the first episode that I was like, something's off with Mrs. True. Like, there's something completely off here. And finally, I think that my theory is coming to fruition. Now, I can't prove or disprove it. And even with this, it's not a spoiler. I think that there are two people that are inside of Amelia. I do. And I think it's direct connection with Horatio, Dr. Horatio. And if this episode wasn't proof enough for me, it's almost solidified. Now, what that means, I don't know. I really don't. Because now it's a Batman Joker kind of circumstance right now. Like, and I'm for it. I really am for it. I actually am really excited to see where this goes. And they also did a little bit more with the character. I forget his name. What is his name? I think it's Augustus. Augustus and Penance actually have some time to kind of communicate at the party that she was at. And it's interesting because I was kind of like, I kind of assumed that Amelia and Penance may be a thing. But I just didn't know. But at the same time, I was kind of like, Augustus definitely seems to be drawn to Penance, and it's a mutual thing. But then there's some other underlying circumstances that forfeits that very quickly. And it's very intriguing because we know from the last episode that Augustus is one of the touch. But what does that mean? How does that affect the people around him? As well as where is this pushing him towards? Thus, where it goes with the person Hugo Swan, which I think he's an unnecessary evil. And I think he's just added for no good reason. Especially after the end of this episode. I was kind of just like, do we really need his character? Like, in all honesty? So, again, the things that I don't like is I feel like it's just kind of unnecessary cursing for the sake of it being on HBO. And I think that the sexual content is just kind of unnecessary as well. I think it's a good sci-fi different take on things just on its own, without it being lewd for no good reason. So for me, I get this an 8 out of 10. I actually really did enjoy this. I think that it was an intense moment in the very last act of this episode that I really appreciated. And so we'll see where this goes. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. I'll talk to you guys later. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Peace, guys.